means abusing blacks,
David, coming in?
hurting people.
Okay, coming in.
Being really nasty. But what the left has done is try to turn it something Marxist, which is racism only power plus discrimination. So suddenly it's okay to hate Jews. It's not racism because Jews have power. See, what they're doing is they're taking the emotional energy of the word racism and they're trying to parasite it or suck the negative energy and attach it to a Marxist class war idea. It's sort of like North Korea saying we're the Democratic Republic of North Korea. The word democratic is parasitic. It's using something that's positive in people's minds and it's trying to suck that energy. Or gay marriage. It's you taking the word marriage, which has positive, letting the generations go on, man and woman, and you're trying to parasitize that positive energy onto something that has nothing to do with it. So I see a lot of this parasitic emotional sucking going on all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I have to say something here. Again, the beauty of our group, we can say anything you want. We're not censored at all, and we're a diverse group. And we say, but I want to a little bit, maybe slightly balance off what Reuven just said, and not to say that not to be political, not to say, because Reuven knows well my political views, but I'm not going to go to my political views because we're trying to hear not to mix politics with this because we respect everybody's views. But I just very briefly for 1 minute of time to say, my oldest son and I used to have very different political views. I was very right, he was very left. But when we get together for dinner, we have a great respect for each other. And even though, like one time I told him, this is not to make political views, I say I will never try to be political again. I said Bernie Sanders, that was before Bernie Sanders I realized his attitude towards Israel. But Bernie Sanders says, I love the guy. I would like to go fishing with him. I think he's a nice guy. He really means well for humanity. I happen to disagree with everything he's saying, but doesn't mean to say that I don't like him as a person. He's a nice, and I think he believes genuinely what he's saying, even though I'm 180 degrees opposite to everything he's saying. So when I talk to my son, we had a similar situation. But I noticed my son always will bring points. He'll say, but what about this statistics? What about this? What about that? And I found I have to be very, very careful of not just brushing it off emotionally, but to hear what he's saying. Let me see, how do you know this? What's your source? What's my source? Over the years, we migrated. I became kind of more to the center from the right, towards the left. He became more kind of to the right, as was after many, many years. So we reached the point that we just love each other and our views almost exactly the same. So I know sometimes the views change over the years. But coming back, and I said, man, you want to say something? Again, I do not see humanity, and even though, yes, you cannot get slaves from Africa on boats with chains and get them to America today, as the people did it, unfortunately and horrifically, years ago. But I think the genocides in what, 2 million people were slaughtered, like what, 20, 30 years in Rwanda? I mean, we have situations going on in the rest of the world, which is moral values. I mean, people in America, people debating is a heterosexual should be allowed to swim with a man or with a woman. That is the world, the most important thing of today. Again, not to make it political things to say that, but simply say, I don't know overall, the world is much more moral place than it used to be. I think the world decayed, not improved. Menachem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, there's a whole load of things that are very different now than they used to be even say 100 years ago. There's racism. I'm just saying in generally, we can look at, obviously we can look at very specific places where it hasn't quite come to this yet, but things like racism, slavery, child labor, child abuse, women's rights, colonialism, humanitarian aid, the advances of medicine and helping the world. There's so many things now that actually are amazing good that's going on in the world that has never happened on this scale before, and that is now, say, globally accepted as being what's right and what's wrong. Of course, there are things that have gone too far, They went too far in that direction. And you know, Rambam talks about, he says, sometimes if you want to change a character trait, you have to go from one extreme to another extreme, and then over a bit of time, you'll come to the center again. So look, that's usually a conscious thing the person has to do in order, but sometimes maybe humanity as a whole does that as well. They're going from one extreme to another extreme, and hopefully they'll maybe come back a bit. But I think generally speaking, there's a lot of things that nowadays, even eating certain animals that are eaten nowadays, or eating live creatures, it's just not accepted in America anymore. In the East still hasn't got there yet, but there are certain things that are really changed within the last century that has just really seemed the world is a very different place than it used to be.
See how wonderful.
There's still active slave trade in Africa today. Slaves are just not being sold to the West anymore. They're being sold mostly to Muslim countries.
Right. So there are still instances, but it's you're saying the superpower of the world does not accept it anymore. The superpowers of the world before did accept it. So this is where the world is really the trajectory of the world in the future. That's the way
slavery was an accepted concept. Slavery is an accepted concept in the Torah and the Mishnah, and there's specific rules about a foreign slave or a Hebrew slave, what you can do or say or command to a foreign slave that you cannot do to a Hebrew slave, but both are slaves. And a slave can even choose in the Torah. You say, if the slave wants to stay with his master, then you take him to the door and you
pierce his ear.
You pierce his ear, and he stays with you forever, etc., etc. So there's there's a norm for slaves. And now this concept is like you said is unacceptable, and it puts the Torah in a very interesting position. So there's something that is in the Torah that is irrelevant today, well, at least for most people. That's a different issue, completely different. That's a completely different issue. But
I've heard leftists say, well, the Old Testament is genocidal. Well, fighting Nazi Germany is genocidal. It depends on your point of view.
Yes, that's right. And being a man is considered genocidal as well. Well, at least a white heterosexual man, that's genocidal. So the highest scale of morality for a human being is to be a black, or at least something that is recognized as a non-white, non-binary, transgender, lesbian, slave, and rape victim put all together in one shell. That's the highest victimhood status.
No, they need some kind of learning.
You can aspire to
disability. They need some kind of disability added there.
Yes,
like being the victim Olympics. See who wins the prize. It's what do they call it? There's a word for intersectionality.
Intersectionality. Yeah.
You get extra points for each.
I want to show you something before we take off, because we have only a couple of minutes. Again, with all respect for Reuven with his jet lagging, I want to show something quickly, and then we'll make a conclusion. Hold on, I'll share a screen for a moment, and I go to, let's see, share. Okay. Let's see. Okay, tell me if you see, guys. You see what the screen?
Yes.
Simple amount, yeah.
I did a calculation. This is my engineer. I think I mentioned to Menachem Mendel, but David, maybe I mentioned it or not. This is just my view, guys. And most Orthodox Jews would disagree with me vehemently. Most Muslims would disagree with me. Actually, not only Orthodox. I think everybody would disagree with me. but this is, as I always tell my wife, this is my opinion, and I completely share it with myself. So my view is this: like, this is Dome of the Rock, and this is Al-Aqsa. In between, in green, I put in scale dimension of the first temple. So if the temple comes in here, and of course, Dome on the Rock, that's a holy place to the Muslims, holy place to the Jews. That Al-Qaeda happened, that's Muhammad raised to heaven, all that. So everybody says, no, I want this particular spot. If you guys don't like it, go away. My view is, listen, let's just get along. If the temple comes right in between, let Muslims come and pray all they want. We can come and visit and say hello, and we can pray over here. And the whole problem of humanity will get solved. This is just me. I just want to show you guys, interesting, if you ever thought, if the temple did come, of course, Jews will say, no, we want it right over here. That's what belongs. Muslims say, no, we want it here. You guys don't belong here. I say, come on, knock it off. Let's open our mind and try to get along. This is just my view. I thought I'll share this little picture with you guys for curiosity.
Well, you do know, Lev, that even some Muslims, especially in Saudi Arabia, but not only, they know the truth that Al-Aqsa is not in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. The Al-Aqsa is just, I think, maybe 10 or 20 kilometers out of Mecca.
Yeah. But I don't care. But if they believe, if half of them believe it's there, it's fine with me.
Well,
As far as the world getting better or worse, let me share something.
Go ahead.
Can I share something?
I will just say
disabled
one final thing before Reuven concludes, and that will be my conclusion.
Okay.
My conclusion of the 20th century is that the world has become, definitely the Western world, and technology, and the whole of the development of Western culture has brought us to the brink of extreme egoism and egotism. And that's also where all the victimhood culture comes from. It doesn't come from justice or for the cry for justice, but it comes from the depths of egoism. And maybe I'm being too romantic about it, but I think that the world before that was much more communal in a sense. Now everybody just
social.
Yeah.
Social
Now everybody
currency, this becomes
everybody's like worried about themselves,
Too selfish.
and that's the sad thing about it.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. Reuven?
Yes. Now, Reuven, and thank you.
I can't. You've disabled screen sharing, so I can't share it.
Oh,
It's
I
a
did?
setting. Yeah.
Okay, how's that now?
Okay. Yeah. I'll show this. The world is 100 people last 2 centuries. Poverty has gone down dramatically.
Yes, that's right.
84% now. We're living in extreme poverty, and 76 not in poverty, but not in extreme poverty. Basic education has gone up dramatically. Literacy has gone up now. 86% of the world is literate. Democracy has increased. Vaccination has increased. And child mortality has dropped dramatically. It's just a lot of people don't know that. But
Yes, that's all true.
there's a number of tremendous improvements overall in many, many things in the world. And the other thing people don't know is that the size of forest, the amount of green in the world is actually increasing because the carbon dioxide has helped plant growth, and crop yields have gone up something like 20%. It's very interesting. Is a lot of things people think they're getting terrible and getting worse, but it's not necessarily true. Some things are getting better.
Okay,
Look,
great.
we definitely know we're all more aware of wars that go on now because of all social media and internet. So we're just a lot more aware of what's going on than we knew.
They call it recency. Recency is you pay attention to what you last saw.
Yeah.
But it's hard for us as humans. We're probably wired to worry about the snake in the grass and the lion in the grass and so forth and so on. So we tend to focus on those things that sound scary. But if you put the big picture in, it's really not so bad, unless nuclear war starts in the next 5 minutes.
That's unbelievable, guys. God forbid. All right, guys. So let's say we'll close on that. And
Okay.
next time I'm going to pick up on the topic that Dave linking in. We look at we start with Rambam, and it's interesting. Just in closing, it will be next
I will
Tuesday.
prepare a few very interesting points from Moreh Nevuchim.
I will just say that as a preparation for that, maybe on the light side, on the funny side, remember that, first of all, it will be next Tuesday at usual time, 8 o'clock Israeli time, 1 o'clock US time, 6 o'clock London time. But I remember one time David and I talked about Slack very briefly, and I look forward next Tuesday to hear. And I said, I believe in 13 principle of Rambam. And the principle number 8 happens to be the Torah today is the same as Moses got it. And at that time, David and I were arguing, saying, no, David says, no, Torah was written 300 years later, 1,000 later. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. I said to him, how do you know? Which book did you read? He says, how do you know? Which book did you read? And then finally I said, you know what? Even the Rambam doesn't agree with the 13 principles Rambam. I do. You know, so once Rambam wrote it, and he says, I made a mistake. I said, good enough for me. I'll believe it. Thank you very much that you wrote it. I believe it, even if you deny it. So hopefully we'll pick up on that.
I have to go now.
We got
Have a good one.
next
Okay.
Tuesday.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.